Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 2, Lesson 8, which is all about this concept of simple interest. Our learning target today is that I can calculate simple interest. So before we get into the terms, before we actually get into what's written on this board, I want to talk about interest. And I want to talk about this financial literacy piece. So in the real world, money is something we need. We know that, right? We need to buy good, we need to buy food, we need to buy all those things. But borrowing money and loaning money is this concept of being able to give somebody a big amount of money or needing a big amount of money for a purchase that we know we have to pay back. So what happens here, and a great example to talk about interest is buying a house. So let's say I want to buy a house and it costs $500,000. Now, I don't have $500,000 sitting in my bank account, but I have a really good job. I know I can afford a house that's like that, but I need to borrow money to do it. So I go to the bank and I say, I need $500,000. I found this great house. I'm really excited about it. And the bank doesn't just say, well, Mr. Hogovic, we like you. Here's $500,000. Pay us whenever you get a chance. That's not how it works. Because I've used their money, I've borrowed this money, they want to charge a fee. And that fee, as I pay back the money I've borrowed, is in addition to that. So not only do I have to pay back my $500,000, but I have to give them some money because they let me use theirs. The same for the reverse is true. If I want to loan out money, let's say I have a lot of money sitting in my bank account and I want to invest it to earn some more money. Well, because I give it to somebody to use in a different way, they pay me back a percentage of it too. So this is this concept of interest and how we get there. So we have a couple of important terms. You can pause the video, you can jot down these two terms. The principal is the first term, simple interest is the second. So principal refers to the amount of money that's borrowed or invested. So if I go back to my example of the house, right? $500,000 is what I needed. That's what they're giving me. That's the principal. Simple interest is how much you have to actually pay in addition to that when you're paying it back, or how much you earn if you lend out your money. It's the amount money paid or earned for the use of that money. It's like a fee for using it. So simple interest is calculated by taking my simple interest, which is known as I, and taking the principal, which is known as P, multiplying it times the rate, which is a percent, right? So if I say I'm borrowing money, you're going to say 3% on your money. That means that's my rate. That's what we're talking about here, and it's often used as a decimal, and we'll get to how that looks. And then lastly, we have time we have to multiply it by. So how long is this money going to be distributed for? And this is always referred to in years when we do simple interest. So what does that mean? Well, if we have two is referring to 2 years. But if I have 6 months, so a lot of times you'll get things over 3 months, 4 months, 10 months. We have to understand that because that's under a year, we have to make it a fraction. And our denominator has to be 12 because that's the total months in a year. And the top is of course, our number of how many months we use here. So the way we're going to work on this is we're going to illustrate an example here. And I have kind of two problems, which is why I have two different times so we can see how it looks. So let's say I have $580. I'm going to lend it to my friend because they need $580 to buy a car stereo or something like that. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to give you my $580, but you have to pay me back 3% interest. And they say, well, it's going to take me 5 years to do that. Say, okay, great. And then we'll figure out what that looks like. So we do our interest equals our principal times our rate times our time. So my interest is going to equal 580 times 0.03, right? I took my 3%, I moved my decimal 2 spots to make it into a decimal, and then times my time. For my first one's 5 years. So I can go ahead, I can use a calculator to figure this out, right? I have that here, and I'll enter that into my calculator. I'm going to do 580 times 0.03 times 5. And I'm going to get $87. And what this means is that over the life of the 5-year loan we have, our 5 years, at the completion of this, I will have earned $87. That's how much money I'm going to get for what I did here. Let's check it out in months now. So here instead the loan is going to be 4 months, which is probably more realistic for a loan like this because it's not that much money. You might have 30 years if you do a big mortgage, but if you're borrowing just a little bit of money, you're not going to need that long to pay it back. So my interest equals 580 times my rate, which is 0.03, times 4/12. Right? That's a fraction, 4/12. If I put that in my calculator, right, because I can't really work in fractions right now, I want to be in decimals, and I do 4 divided by 12, I'm going to get 0.3 repeating. So now, again, using my calculator, I'm going to multiply 0.3 repeating times 0.03 times 580. And in this case, my money I'm going to get is $5.80. So as you can see, the biggest factor that plays into calculating our interest is how long a loan lasts and how long it goes. Because when we had a 4-month loan, we only had to pay $5.80. When we had a 5-year loan, we paid $87, which is huge compared to what we borrowed. So as we think about how these interact, we look at kind of our interest is going to equal our principal times our rate times our time.